won by O'Hara.
Eamonn was probably the Roy Keane of Sligo football.
Such a vital player for Sligo.
A real leader, a real competitor, striving to be the best that he could be.
Beautiful skill by O'Hara.
Harva Ackley, a chlúdig níos mó spáise farc na himmartha ná aonam Irela.
So quick to react to those breaking balls.
Even from a young age, people from around the country knew who Eamonn O'Hara was.
And it took O'Hara's determination and leadership to find the most direct way to go.
Níor fearr Lorna Park a tradiisiúnta, bhí sé sort nascidir go cúilthe agus na tosa.
There's one player who's willing to run at the heart of the Tyrone defence.
People have this perception that he's a pretty face and the tan legs and all the rest, but when he steps out onto the pitch, he was a fierce competitor. If it meant stepping over the line at times, he wasn't afraid to do that either.
Cha Eamonn O'Hara bag nach scór bliana gimar go chligeach, agus chunig gona himnúí pelle is sahananta sa tír. Ach dimmer se sa gréibh gona chéadúir le hub, in 1994.
I was selected at midfield. I was an 18-year-old, very, very naive, up against a formidable Mayo team.
I clearly remember sitting beside him on the bus going from the Brafey House Hotel to McHale Park, and he was like a cat on a hot tin roof and jumping around with excitement and everything else and the anticipation of everything, and unfortunately I think it got the better of him.
I got 18 minutes of football and I got the curly finger from the guys. They just probably saved me from a humiliation more so than anything else. It just didn't go well. I hated being taken off, but it was a learning curve for me that, you know, you needed to tune in, you need to be a little bit more focused at 18 years of age. I swore then that I'd never be taken off in a championship game.
In 1994 thug Eamonn agus Sligo chair Wio, an bouta seo glufi canis chonacht.
Mickey Moore had come in at that stage in 97. He was very much a football coach and, you know, we responded really well to it.
Good work by Eamonn O'Hara, taking a shot and over the crossbar.
Unfortunately, time was blown when we had just thrown within a point of them. We felt it was a bit of a spark. You know, we were starting to see some sort of progress within Sligo.
Bhín splanction le feiceal ríist sa mbliana 2000 ar a chuir slígeach tús lena bheachtas cruimhe. Mayo bhí rompa ríist I Bark Markovic.
It was one of his best games ever. Like, you know, he was absolutely everywhere on the pitch. He was in defence, he was midfield, he was taking scores.
Here's Eamonn O'Hara. Inside is Sean Davey.
Nuair a hastig go bhaintear ligí cinnere a aimsú, is a gcónaí i dro O'Hara a déchadar.
It's Eamonn O'Hara. Great run. Did very well and sends it over the bar.
When Sligo played well, it was no coincidence that Eamonn was at the top of his own personal game.
For the first time in 25 years, Sligo have beaten Mayo in the Connacht Championship.
Léirigh an tagal a bhí Eamonn O'Hara tréisiant leis in the naig faoio and sais Omahor a bhí ann.
You know, there's an absolute brilliant crowd here today and they gave us the support that we badly needed. But as I said, a lot of work to do for Galway.
Bhí O'Hara hanahéin is smaoinmh ar an chéad lá eile agus an chéad dúlán eile agus bin an naig na Gaillimhe.
This Connacht football semi-final is underway.
We genuinely thought we were going to win it, but we had forgot to actually play football.
Sligo in a panic. Corrick Joyce on the turn, and that's over the bar. Picked up by Derek Savage, cutting inside the cover, and sent over the bar.
Hit cachéir das a chéile.
But terrible defending by Sligo, it must be said.
Ní bhaidis na lábha áil ar an líróid agus bhí sé hart faoi letham, is lom chaileidir fehedó a cethar faoi cheann scríbe.
They just destroyed us that day. And for me personally, I suppose I just felt, you know, responsible.
Indeed, when Sligo will want to forget this particular match very, very quickly.
An bhliain dar gíon I 2000 sa híon, curú tús leis na boutíí cáiliche agus an cúldaras. Siad Kildare a bhí fannacht leis Sligeach, ach bhí firiníorthar faoi bhainisteoir nó faoin amseo. Peter Ford as Mayo.
The focus probably wasn't so much on Kildare, it was probably more on the venue. We had never been there, we'd only dreamt of being there.
For Sligo coming to Croke Park for the first time in 26 years, we possibly felt that the occasion might get to them.
Chuidir suas gan mar an dóchas, na se an chéad rár go bhí going ar Sligo go caithfh na gansathe dubha, gan dát bhí bán a chaithfh ag Kildare.
A lot was made out of it, and it was an old tradition that Sligo used to always wear black.
And it's gone over the bar.
Things started well, but after 4 minutes, just the whole lot went pear-shaped. Neil Carew got sent off on an off-the-ball incident.
Which means that Sligo are down to 14 players.
In fairness to Peter Ford, he shuffled things around. He brought in a few different subs that would impact a little bit better in terms of having to really run and chase for the game.
Bursting down in the goal, and he sends it over the bar.
Dásadar isteach sa chléthe, agus fuaidir momentum, bhí O'Hara, suas agus síos an farc.
Great running by Eamonn O'Hara. His support outside. Chance of a point. Brilliantly taken.
We couldn't turn it around. We couldn't stop this wave of attack after attack, and they surpassed us, and we had no response to that.
Beautiful skill by O'Hara. Playing with confidence. You wouldn't think they've been absent from Croke Park for 26 years, would you?
They sensed that they had us that day, and they just kept driving and driving and driving.
Sligo lead, 14 points to 13. Eamonn O'Hara will know that possession now is crucial.
We hung on to the very, very end and got a result.
Sligo have conquered the Lily Whites.
It meant so much to everybody, and you know, there's people coming crying that men and women who are in their 50s and 60s would have talked about being in Croke Park when they played in 1975. You know, this is the first time they were back. We were just so grateful to be part of that and to be looking forward to the next round of the qualifiers, and it was a dream come true.
They got a taste for winning in Croke Park, and they enjoyed it, and they wanted more of it.
Couple of seachtain in the Yeshin, vider a reise borke Croke Chonaya Horster Vla Clear. Ach, ní bheith rudaí chama about the show.
She got a hard chance in the Kitto. Go!
We had a couple of chances, but they were far superior.
You don't stop on Carford.
We walked into the dressing room. In fairness, Peter dressed us really well. He just says, learn from this experience. You got 2 days out in Croke Park. You won one, you lost one. Learn from both, but particularly learn from the one that you lost here today.
Irela villig ze do, vi kommen ma has Eamonn agus Sligo. Vi neirin he shot you want to make a gluffy cannish chonocht. Ach vi fudden the Gael vi roll out agus shan cool doris vi no berisht.
Peter gave me a call, said we were back again. We got Tourlestrane in Croke Park.
We probably weren't expecting them to be as strong as they were because they didn't have a great tradition of coming to Croke Park and doing well, so we felt that we were a team on the up.
We're saying we have to go back to our white jerseys, and Peter Ford said absolutely in no circumstances that we change them. There was a promise of a fine to be put on us if we wore out the black, and we just wore the black jerseys with huge pride.
We got off to a great start that day.
Peter Cannon given too much space by Patrick Nocton.
We led by 6 or 7 points.
McAnallen, chance of a point, and McAnallen takes it.
They were operating at a completely different level, so our lads really had to respond.
It's almost like a soccer build-up, trying to work their way through. Good run by Eamonn O'Hara. And one player who's willing to run at the part of the Tyrone defence.
For O'Hara, cúpla cúlín, ceann le na chiatóg, ceann le na Yasóg, agus chasan tíide.
Score on. Score taken, and the momentum is with Sligo.
Once we started going, you know, a little bit of belief started to come back into us. The work rate just upped, and it was a 15-man shift. Again, there was no individuals.
Now Sligo are playing with passion. That's why we came to Croke Park.
In the closing 20 minutes, we had no answer to them. There was only one team.
Eamonn O'Hara drops this in, and it's going to drop over the crossbar. It comes back to Taylor. Chance here for Jesse Sloan. Can he score? Yes! Oh, incredible!
Made a lot of people sit up and take notice because they outplayed, they outran, they outfought Tyrone.
The referee blows the full-time whistle. Tyrone are out of the All-Ireland series. Peter Ford and Sligo have rediscovered their...
We knew now we were able to compete at the highest level against anybody that was out there.
This is their moment of truth.
An Join an bhua a bhí cá híróin, ní dólam gur tugad mór an de hans de Ligach. Bhí annach chud cainte faoi ardfacha, go méid go bhaidís craobh na hair na bhóchant an bhliain sin.
Eamonn O'Hara's mom and dad there just watching and hoping that their son can bring his county to an All-Ireland semi-final.
Bhín ceantas na cluichí inar éiriglis an éanad lár parca a bhí go bhrasúra stop a chur leis na róthir sin a bhí ag Eamonn O'Hara sús agus síos an fág.
Literally pulled it out of O'Hara's grasp.
They were a force to be reckoned with.
And there's a chance here of a goal. It is a goal.
I suppose when we went the man down, it was, oh, here, not again.
And it's David Durkin that was involved with Stephen McDonnell off the ball, and he's showing him a red card.
We just didn't panic. We didn't throw caution to the wind. We just started as a let's just execute the simple things right.
It's Porrick Doohan, and that is over the bar. They're down to 14 men, and they are challenging the Ulster champions. Here's a chance for Sligo. Can they open it out? The shot, and it's over the bar.
Guys that you trained with down through the years, you look at them when, you know, in the heat of battle, you could see in their eyes we're going to win this game.
Armagh have not scored in the last 20 minutes.
Benny Tierney took a kick out, we won it, and we had a chance.
Is there an equaliser? It's all Sligo.
But a few minutes to go, I said, we have this one.
Putting the pressure on. Armagh red.
We have them on the rocks.
Here's a simple chance for Darren McGarty.
That chance came, and it wasn't executed.
Can he score? He takes the point.
You know, Dara went for a point, and he was probably 100% right. Another person could have gone for a goal and it could have been saved, and they'd have been criticising him for going, why didn't he go for the point? It equalised the game, so we were grateful. Don't get me wrong, I was grateful, but you know, I genuinely believe we'd missed our chance that day.
Thugad raig an uamh don áthimart an chéad le eile agus bhí beáí níos mó fálamthe is dólam ag ardmhacha faoi Sligoch ná mar a bhí ag Sligoch faoi ardmhacha.
We missed chances. I missed a chance in front of the goal. Two others missed chances from 30 yards out.
Eamonn O'Hara,
And it was there to be won with 15-20 minutes to go. When you kick balls wide, you don't deserve to win a game.
Deirtar gur bheith sin an tainúir go raibh Eamonn O'Hara a cuine istí go seomra festas. Híl se go raibh níos mód an ragracht tite ar hain, chuil se go móra.
We nearly got there. Nearly.
Armagh went on to win the All-Ireland title, and I have no doubt that if Sligo had overcame that hurdle, they would have given it a great rattle themselves.
I watched it in Croke Park. People that were there were clapping you on the back saying that could be ye, and it made it even harder to watch. You always dream, like, what would it be like if it was your own county? You are a little bit envious, there's no doubt about it, and you start to think back, but you kind of catch a grip and say, listen, it wasn't to be, and you move on.
And it is, of course, to Sligo and to Eamonn O'Hara.
Bhí solas éigeán de Eamonn ag deireadh rámhíleagus a dó. Chrú sé gradam Ulster. An chéad imreoil le Sligo ó ghrún gradam sin le 8 mbliana agus fi. Ach a méid sean an tilíana agus clíma áil bhain chonocht. Bhí rudí ciún go maith go Eamonn O'Hara fear roinn blianta agus cortacha í chuid éasó. Ach a rámhíleagus a 7 agus ar éise le háine mar ríist, tháinig go ar céile Tommy Brehan isteach mar bhainisteúir.
I think with Tommy coming in on board, our training started to be tailored around how are we going to be successful, how are we going to win a Connacht title. It was 32 years since we won one. We had Roscommon to play, and we went up and we didn't perform for about 40 minutes.
In the arms now of Eamonn O'Hara. O'Hara is fouled.
We were lacklustre, we were poor, and Roscommon were bullying us.
Lays it off to Sean Davey, and Davey, another score for Davey.
In the last 25 minutes, we started to claw back a lead that they had got on us.
The shot, and Brian Curran with the point.
We just did enough to cross that line, and the Connacht final came, and it was something that we said we were not going to leave behind.
Ní raibh gaiileh ag amach go maith ag an am sin ach fós bhí mar rán na cotíonteachta mar go raibh gibit an ag Sligoch.
We'd choice a venue then for the Connacht final. It was really a no-brainer. After defeating Roscommon in the semi-final in Hyde Park, you know, we brought Galway to there.
It was the exact same dressing room. We went through the exact same routine.
There was no shouting or roaring. It was just a very comfortable feeling that, you know, just a job to do.
It was the first time you can honestly put your hand on your heart and say, there's 28 guys going out here 100% convinced we're going to win a Connacht title.
Brave hearts and hungry hearts to get hold of that ball.
And just remember back in the game, we started quite well, and then Galway really took over, and they had a spell for 5 or 6 minutes where they nearly could have put the game beyond us.
Nicky Joyce and sent over the bar, but cutting Sligo open. Savage, sensible, took the point.
We withstood it, and then we started playing very well.
Breheny on that trusty left boot. He can do it from freeze, he can do it from play.
In the Connacht final, you don't plan them. It just came natural.
David Kelly, just one man in the full forward line, and here's Eamonn O'Hara.
For years, I played midfield, and I was blessed with pace. I could carry a ball. And my dad would always say to go up to the field and practice running hard at goal and taking a shot at goal, or just kick it into an empty net. But do it, repeat, repeat, repeat. Just composing yourself at the right time to connect with the ball.
McNamara. David Kelly, just one man in the full forward line.
I saw the pass and there was nobody inside.
Roher Moore Tríd Costantori na Galava.
Surging through, Hadley trying to get back to it.
This was it. Just compose yourself. I just pulled the trigger.
What a fantastic goal!
Go bheag nar bhain sé an tangach den gúil.
And O'Hara is back to his very best. And Sligo lead.
It just got us back into the game before half-time and it gave us a huge lift.
Will he back himself? McPartland goes with the fist. He did back himself. And it's a fine point.
We're in this game and we're good enough to win it.
Well, they still lead by a point, but Eamonn O'Hara is in trouble and they cannot afford to lose him.
I don't know, I just clipped my knee with somebody else and it seemed to just dislocate it out. And as soon as it happened, I said, I'm gone. I knew it was gone.
I remember him going down and obviously I think there was tears in his eyes, literally, and it was a big blow to him.
Well, how big a moment in this Connacht final will that be?
Eamonn then was beside me on the sideline shouting and roaring and egging guys on and making sure, trying to get the game over the line.
And they're going to have to do it without him now, if they are to do it.
For me on the sideline, it was the worst thing ever. I kicked every ball, I couldn't sit down. It was just the want to win. And in fairness, the lads just took it up a notch.
Still have possession, the scoring chance for Sweeney, and he's done it. And room ball around the McNamara for Sligo. He's put it over the bar. They're 2.5 minutes away from the Connacht title, but Galway will come at them so strongly. They're just a point behind. They're going to have one last crack at this. Fallon jigs one way, then the other on the outside of the left foot. Has he got it?
I had said more prayers. God, if you're up there, you'll have to do us a favour. This can't go over. Because it had happened so many other times that luck was always against us.
On the outside of the left foot, has he got it? No, he's put it wide. He's put it wide. That is surely it.
And it just drifted wide, and that was it. When the final whistle went, it was the sense of relief. It was just unbelievable. It's ours.
Sligo have ended a 32-year drought.
The rest was a blur, a blur.
The celebrations tonight in Sligo all over will be absolutely amazing.
The joy in everybody's face was just amazing. You're trying to get your bearings, and I didn't care who brought me or where I ended up. I was happy and content of that I'd eventually won a Connacht medal.
Champions in 1975, now in 2007, Sligo are Connacht champions again. For them, the drought is over.
Coming into Charlestown, they wanted to walk the cup across the border, so we parked up. In credit to the Charlestown people, they welcomed us with open arms, and they were delighted that we had actually won a Connacht title, and they knew we deserved it. And you know, we made our way into Tubbercurry and then on into Sligo. It was an amazing few days, yeah.
Tá sé dachar Coranúr, Cad Harlín a gúnta nor a hagan Irela Gorta Mór, nor a tá an breakthrough dénta. Níl an fern obt an levéil a srisha, mar tá an promised land srishta Hannafin.
Can Sligo continue on the journey that began on...
Certainly my main focus on the management team was the Connacht wasn't going to be enough for us. It was all about the next game against Cork, but we knew there was going to be a formidable challenge.
But Iran anavor physical iad Kirkig agus bhí luchlasaha ka agus bhí tahia ka bheith gimmer to bark and crokig.
Down first the right half forward, a chance and beautifully tucked away by John Miskela.
They had us in a lovely position because they broke the illusion that we had going on.
Ge physical ni dul go Sligo chabal ta Shasav Loha.
There's another point opportunity here.
They weren't gentle with us, they really pushed it home.
That's where the journey is going to end for the Sligo boys.
The performance wasn't just up to scratch. We had a little bit of silverware in our pockets and that outweighed that disappointment. And I think we went into the winter, you know, quite content.
Ráhílig sa hocht thug siad faoi chraibh Connacht de ríist. Bheith mo vola sa glufiile cheannis.
The former Crossmalina All-Ireland winning manager Tommy Jordan came in. He had to deal with big heads. You know, we were probably struggled to deal with the expectation of us. We didn't know how to do it.
Scoring opportunity. Mayo in real control now.
Mayo just handed our backsides on a plate up in Castlebar that day and really turned the tide in terms of, you know, you were one-hit wonders. We let Tommy Jordan down and we probably blamed him as a manager rather than looking at ourselves.
By Kevin Walsh a bhí stúr mar bhainisteoir Sligo a ráhílig sa naí, agus a ráhílig sa de, Vidir a réise glufi canis chonocht le Mayo agus Gael corrog go Grim Show Lacab.
Kevin had worked us really hard. Our fitness levels are at maximum. We were extremely confident. If you genuinely believe in 2007 that I was going to win a Connacht title, I was twice as much convinced in 2010 that we'd win one.
First attack for Sligo, first points.
The management changed our setup before that game. We'd got to the final by playing a kind of a sweeper role in the final. We moved away from that.
Running continuously at the Sligo defence, and he's going to sneak it inside the posts.
Bhí Nina long cool denach sládartha in Irela.
Donald Shaw from Craig.
We clawed it back, we dug it out really hard.
O'Hara, the one man who's capable of breaking down this Roscommon defence. The kick is a good one.
It was looking, I was going our way.
Sean Davey goes for it, but it's going to drop magnificently. What an equaliser!
And Roscommon came and Donny Shine kicked the lights out on Castlebar with his free kick, won by a point.
The referee blows the full-time whistle. Sligo are beaten.
The stólam dámarrad amach Eamonn O'Hara treis titim siar mar chusantóir breise in san gluiche sin chomá gach seansa gomach an tarna craibh chanacht buaite agus ige Ireland.
Chá bhílig a dóéag, agus le 8 bliana déag caite gin ansaí Ligi, vidir a réise glufi canis chonocht in IWO.
We got into another Connacht final against Mayo, and I suppose for me, I wasn't a starter at that stage. I was probably more resigned to being coming on as an impact sub. With a few minutes to go, we were 2 points up and we were controlling the game. They were struggling. We just probably went too offensive. We probably should have shut down shop, probably played a little bit more defensively. The fact that I hadn't started, I felt I was a little bit more disconnected from the whole situation.
It was probably a frustrating year maybe for Eamonn in the sense that he felt he could have done more, and Sligo were very close to winning another Connacht title.
Training was starting on the 1st of November and I got a call from Kevin. He had asked me would I continue on, and I said absolutely, I'd love to. And he said, well, it's 4 collective sessions a week. I said, Kevin, to be quite honest with you, I could do it and I'll probably break down come February, March time, and I'll be no good to you in the championship. Come 1st of January, I'm available to you 100%, but from now and then I can go away and I can do the individual stuff. He wasn't in agreement with that, and that was our last conversation.
I mi beltaine rávílig sa trí déag, deide Eamonn O'Hara's furin Ligi go hefigiú. Ach bhí dúchlan nó mar ribh an Sunday game.
I looked forward to it with huge sort of enthusiasm because it was replacing Gaelic football. I was now looking at all football and still very much involved.
An chéad chláir ra Eamonn a gobadéid bhí stigach a gimmert, ach bhfuil London iad. Ní raon leis gur Eamonn fécail churán agus háranne chud cainte faoin glufa agus loch banisteocht a Ligi roint conspóide.
They deserve better. Kevin Welch has a lot to answer for.
That's very strong coming from you. Do you think he will go?
Well, to be honest with you, I think he will, and I think he should do the County Board Affairs.
As a pundit, I owed it to the viewers, to be honest, on my viewpoint. I just felt change was needed.
Sin an fág bhfuil daoine ar an telefís nó an nóchtán na man chuna túramí a chót com a cáint agus is féidir lo.
Ag déine na bliana sin, deide le Eamonn agus a chlub Tourlestrane craobh Ligi a ghróchant. Agus is ionintach an téidirhí se thug se an chlub, mar imreoir agus mar bhainisteoir.
It's a special occasion, and particularly then to a county final, it's really good.
He always had the belief that Sligo should be winning All-Ireland. It wasn't about Connacht titles. He always had the genuine belief that Sligo should be playing at the top level.
He will be remembered not only as a Sligo great and not only as a Connacht great, but certainly up there with one of the all-time great footballers of the modern era.
The captain, fantastic, Eamonn O'Hara.
I was lucky, so lucky to win a Connacht Championship in 2007. I was so lucky to win an All-Star in 2002. And I'm so lucky to represent my club as captain and as a player to win 8 county titles. And, if that was offered to me in 1994, to say you have 19 years and this is what's going to come, I would have been really looking forward to achieving all of those things.